Hey guys, and welcome to this tutorial about creating creature voices. Now, first of all, your input is the most important thing there is. If your voice lacks story or dedication, then you will never achieve your goal. So I would suggest that you listen to voice artists that, for instance, in games, how their emotion is involved into the well, whatever they speak. In my case, I just made an example about a demon that is very dominant and is very self-assured that he will destroy you. So let's take a listen, and I will remove all effects first so you can hear what it sounds dry. Um, You are mine. Now that's quite scary, but it's not scary enough because it's too human. So this is actually me. What is this? Is a mono channel going into a stereo pair group. Why? Because later on we want to put the demon inside a room that sounds convoluted with reverb, and the doubler has its effect there, and a little bit of delay, panning, and also the tool I use to make this demon real is rendered better in stereo engine, stereo track, because of its possibilities there as well. So the first thing what we do is we're always trying to make gain staging properly. So check Unity. I didn't do that in this case for this demo, but what you should do is be sure that your input levels are not too high. Be around an integrated level of, well, below -23 LUFS. So in Cubase you have a meter, set it on loudness, check your integrated level, and you can put some settings in here, but I'm not going into details for that. So put it here, check your integrated level that it's at least around -23 until -30, it's okay. Because later on, when you use different sounds in your project and you're gonna stack them, they're going to sum. For more information about very detailed mixing skills, I advise you to follow Sample Craze, which is a site run by Eddie Bezel, and he explains you everything you need to know about how to mix properly. So in this case, what I did, I picked the gain from this channel and I lowered it with 10 dB to accommodate to this number. After that, so let's presume we have Unity now. After that, we are putting a gate on it. Why? In the case of my room here, which is acoustically okay, I have a computer which is water cooled, but those water pumps still generate a little bit background noise, and I want to eliminate that in the recording. Now, while recording you could do that as well, but in this case I am more sure that I can remove this kind of information. I'd rather remove this kind of information afterwards, so I don't lose any detail. I use a UAD system where I have a unison preamp channel strip which generates this voice actually, which you now hear, and this is actually the exact same setting I used to record this vocal. So this gate is on it, so let's play. And just watch here. If it's green, it's on. If it's orange, it's in a danger zone of getting off. And it's resulting, when it's red, in a silent, well, non-audible sound. So play. You are mine. See, and at the end here was no audio, so then it turned red. Very handy, very useful, and very needed, because otherwise it stacks in the chain. So maybe I will attenuate more, or I put more energy or in whatever in the vocal I am trying to achieve, and then the noise floor is going to boost up as well. So from this range, it's going to be muted based on the release time, of course. What's after this number has been achieved. It's like a normal compressor, only this one gates. The behavior of a compressor, of course. Now, let's go to the next step. Now, what I want to do is I want to tame those peaks. I don't want to compress it to death, but what I want to do is remove this area here. These small peaks here, a little bit of this one here, there, and this. So it's a little bit more flat. Now, what I could do is I could use offline processing, so I can actually see the wave file, which is, I think, a fantastic way of getting back a new audio file with a visual representation, but in this demo I won't. I just use it on ears and I look at this meter. So what is this for kind of a plugin? It's a very fast compressor limiter, and it basically is now set to the fastest catch it can. I'm not sure what time it actually catches, but I believe it's one of the fastest out there. It won't get into your errant peaks, but I presume that it doesn't. Maybe it does, that it's that fast, but I don't think it goes below 1.5 millisecond. So I put it on 7, so it's very fast. I put the release as fast as possible, well, a little bit here. Why? If this would be too long, it would still compressing after the peaks I want to compress or limit. It will keep compressing, and then the following information after the as long as the release time is present will be limited as well. So we don't want that. So this setting actually is set perfectly for this one, so I'm going to play this now. So what I did actually is I raised the input level and then I lower the output level. This is always a mirror solution, so think of a vertical mirror here that mirrors these settings. So if I put this up, put this down. So go back to there. So this is the first one, then the limiter. You are mine. Now that is done. Now we go to the next stage, and I will send this signal. Oh, I forgot one thing. What you always need to do is bandpass everything you don't need, because it will flip your compressor or limiter or whatever. So I removed this bottom piece and a little bit of the high end. I boosted it a bit here, and I lowered it a bit in the high. Afterwards I would think like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done this because this will influence my complete signal chain, and at the end, and I know that now, I boost the highs again. So there could be a reason for that, doing that, but I didn't have actually. I was just playing around. So this is just this setting. Now that is done, we go to the stereo pair. So this audio file is going into this stereo channel, and inside this stereo channel I have a few plugins. So I'll enable them all and I'll disable them each manually. The first one is the dehumanizer. So now I'm going to create from as dry as possible sound. I'm going to create the demon. I'll enable this this plugin, and this dehumanizer 2 from Creaktor. Creaktor is I would say the #1 sound design. They help people sculpting sounds for games and video and whatever. But this was this company I recently met. I don't even know how long they exist, but this is this is such a brilliant plugin. It's basically, they have two versions. They have a dehumanizer, dehumanizer Simple Monsters. I believe it's actually calling Simple Monsters anyway. Um, and that's a small version for simple, fixed ways of behavior. And this is actually a node-based system, which if you're familiar with video editing or color grading, you will instantly recognize this. I do a little bit of that, so I understood it completely instantly. I mean, so you have a track input. I can make as many extra outputs as I want, but the first one goes into the scrubbing convolution, which is actually it checks my my sound, and it envelopes through it. So this is actually, as you can see here, it's envelope enabled. So what it does, it checks the lowest parts of the audio, and the harder I talk, or the more energy is in here, the more it scrubs through this sample. And in this case I use a Bengal tiger with a mix value of with 0.11. So that's basically this is it's a full version of this, and this is now like 11% feeding into. Afterwards I EQ it. There's a limiter on it. I actually didn't set this to taste, but that was what I came up with, finding okay now. So that's the first one. The second one goes into the spectral shifting part, and what this does, it actually shifts pitch for this area, so it doesn't take this area into account, so no high frequencies are pitched, and there is a nice crossover here which is programmed into the plugin, I suppose. So I'm not very sure if that's the case, how this behaves in there, because I didn't go into that detail, but this is the resulting effect, that this original sound is not being influenced, or this effect doesn't take the high energy into account, or the high frequencies. That's what you can do with this threshold here. So you have a high threshold and a low threshold and a pitch, and this pitch is the same as this one, and the low and the high represent basically these lines here. So this is that setting, and it's going into the output. So this is extreme parallel. I mean, every original sound goes into its own engine and goes to the output. Now you could think like, why? This gives this is like parallel compression, where you have an original signal and a mixed in signal that you want to capture the harmonics and attenuate and strengthen the original a little bit more, so you can boost it. Now these are all different kinds of emotions, or I mean energies, or different kinds of sounds actually, that stack and go into the output. So I could pick this one up, drag it in here, drag this one out, and drag it in here. So this line is not affected, but I don't want the scrubbing convolution go into the pitch, so that's why I did it like this. Now the delayed pitch is actually a little bit, I don't have to go into that much detail, because this simply semitone pitches it 3 down. And it gets a little bit feedback, which means it holds it a little bit longer than the original. Now there's a vocoder, and I added it, and I put the pitch to 30. What this does is it creates a nicer bottom part. So I actually added a little bit low end to the EQ of this vocoder, and I will bypass each in a second so you can hear what they all do, but this one adds bottom to it. So now let's hear it. I think So now I'm gonna bypass every plugin. So this is the original. You are mine. You hear that here? If that's what the use of this vocoder is actually. That if you listen closely to the demon's low end, so he's very big, you know, he needs a lot of energy in the low end to be able to feel that it feels real. So listen without. I think mute. Did I actually bypass? I think this is bypass, right? I mean, okay, let's mute it. See, where's the low end? There's nothing in there, so I regenerate it. And of course I could boost it in one of these, but I was playing around and I found that the vocoder actually with the square wave actually fits really well. Now I'm gonna put it on. It's very subtle, and I don't know if you have good speakers, but it's improving very well. Now, the next step is you could do it's best to use separate plugins for that stuff, you know, but I'm lazy and I'm using this vocal finalizer. So everything in this process you can do on your channel strip, of course, or put a reverb behind it after you do compression and stuff like that within your own order. This one's fixed. I love the plugin. It gives me a very fast idea of what the goals are, and if I need to have a very detailed change I can do here, for instance the type of reverb that is chosen I don't like, maybe I would rather than disable this one and put it in my insert slot afterwards, or use a send effect to feed it a little bit if there's no wet and dry on the reverb I use. So now it's turning into this. So basically what this does is you have an input channel, an input knob, intensity of the compression algorithm. There's a gating function. You could add more body, you could add more brightness. Basically this is an EQ which adds bottom end and air, so above 5 or 6K it's going to boost, probably with some shell at the end. I'm not sure if it's bezel or whatever it is, but it's sounding okay. Then you have a stereo width where you can see this spectrum going more wider, so that your vocal is more stereo, and that's why I put it on a stereo bus. Then we got a doubler, which doubles, of course, the vocal with a certain type where some pitch changes happen and maybe delays, and you know. It's an algorithm, and they pick 3 and they do their own thing. Then we have a delay of half a second, or I mean half the time it actually is running. Signature. Then we have a reverb, which is on eternity, and I didn't put it all the way up because I really don't. Well, I like it, but it's maybe a little bit too. Yeah, how I'm gonna say it. I think a little bit too much. So wet is also lowering the wet is also not making me satisfied, because I actually then the voice gets a little bit too much towards me, and I would rather have a remic tool doing that. So, and the reverb actually it should be convoluted within a room that well, already has been created. That would be idealistic. And I could use a convolution reverb for that, but not going into detail for that as well. After this vocal finalizer, I want to boost the harmonics a little bit. I do it with this wonderful plugin from Vertigo. So it sounds a little bit more, it's a little bit more balanced now, where the mid and the sides, the harmonics of them are now equal, or at least they feel natural, more natural to me than it was before. And then we have a gem, and this is the Eventide Vision. What I do with this, it splits up the transients and its tonality. So, you know, transients don't have any musical information and tonalities are musical information. So you can split them, and you have a transient decay. So basically what it does, it decays the transient length detection, where it's going to do its thing with. Now this is the blue part, which is the transient, and I put a tap delay on it, and this one is an EQ, where I boosted the highs in this in the stereo image. Now this, when you do this and you would sum to mono, this will definitely lower the high end in the middle or in the center. So depends on for who you are working. If you need a club mix and you use a vocal like this, it will be gone, because you know it should be mono, and for radio as well. So really depends, but this one adds up and makes it sound more creative, because it's an effect and you could tweak and then come up with something brilliant. And I think I've nailed it here with some changes to a preset. See, and see, it's too tin canny at the end, but that's you could do this within 5 minutes, or you could do this in 10 hours, and that the result depends on you know, changing reverbs, changing this, changing signal flows, and I think that could be improved, but overall I would I like the result. And so this is before. Sorry, this is before. You are mine. So that's very in your face. There's no space, there's no demon, and this is the version of a demon in a very big room, a cave or whatever. But that is very important to know, because you have to ask the director, like, okay, what is the space? And sometimes you get with WeWise, you sometimes can, you know, I mean, with Unity you can get an environment or whatever to play with sometimes, and you could use WeWise to test it your own and feel and stuff like that. But I don't know if many studios actually work that way, but that would be great. So this is after. Thanks for watching. If you think, because you know, I'm not, you know, I do this for work, and I'm in the music industry for quite a while, but of course I'm not the biggest hero on the planet. If you think some improvements could be made, or if you think something's lacking in the signal chain, just let me know. I'm ready to listen to your story about improving this, and yeah, maybe till next time. Thanks for watching, and take care.